I've listened to your podcast, Todd, of the HSP, and I was really triggered by you saying that you wanted to explore another time a situation where you feel as an HSP very overwhelmed and you find it very difficult to really set your boundaries out of fear for the reaction of the other person. And I have one situation at work where I was really feeling very overwhelmed and I really needed to take my rest, and I did. And afterwards, I was very judged by the other person, and didn't feel, yeah, didn't feel very well. So I don't know if we can explore this, or yeah, I don't know if Sarah has
Sounds
something.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, great. I think it's a great topic. Certainly one that I can relate to as an HSP, and I think even if you're not an HSP, people we get overwhelmed, but especially for highly sensitive people, that threshold to get overwhelmed is lower, so we can get overwhelmed quicker. And there is a need to actually take care of ourselves. We actually need to step away, take some rest, uh, regroup, and find that inner balance again. And so, yes, the challenge of that is it requires setting some boundaries and saying no to something to other people. So, I'd love to take a look at the situation. So, what? Tell me more details. What was the actual moment when you felt this experience of being judged by the other person for setting boundaries when you were overwhelmed?
Yeah, at work we always eat with all the coworkers. So at 6 o'clock in the evening, and I was really feeling overwhelmed, and I really needed to eat without anyone around me. So I took my plate downstairs, and my boss was not there at that moment. And then he was looking for me, and he found me downstairs in the basement with my plate. And he said, "Why are you sitting here? Why are you not eating with the rest of your colleagues?" And that was the moment I really felt judged by him. Yeah. So
Yeah,
that's where the
yeah,
stress started for me. Yeah.
yeah. I can experience that myself just listening to you. That would be a stressful moment. So, what are your what are your stressful thoughts in that moment, especially towards your boss? Maybe it's the yeah. Let's just brainstorm for a minute. Like, what are you thinking? What are your stressful thoughts about him or her in that moment?
I have no right to set my boundaries because he is now judging me. Um, I am different, and he is not accepting me being different. He doesn't understand how I feel because he is completely the opposite. He is not sensitive at all. So, yeah, I am not allowed to set my boundaries. I need to adapt to what all the others are doing. Uh, I need to please him also by picking up my plate and going upstairs and eat with my colleagues to please him because I'm not allowed to take my rest when I need it because I'm supposed to be with my colleagues upstairs. They will find me a strange lady. Yeah, all this kind of thoughts going on.
Yeah, good list. Good
Yeah.
list of stressful thoughts. Yeah. So, let me read back to you what you just were speaking, and tell me if one of these sounds like one that you would like to question. So I have no right to set my boundaries. I am different. Uh, he doesn't accept me. He doesn't understand me. I'm not allowed to set my boundaries. I need to adapt to what the others are doing. I need to please him. I'm not allowed to take my rest when I need it. And they will think of me as a strange lady.
Phew. Yeah, I think I need to adapt. Yeah, I need to adapt to. Yeah,
Okay.
it's
Yeah,
like
I need to
forcing
adapt
myself to
to
do.
what they're
Yeah,
doing.
to do the same as they do. But it's like, yeah, it's like forcing myself to be like them. So yeah, there's a need to adapt, even if I
Yeah.
know I will not succeed. Yeah, yeah,
Yes. So let's do the work on this. You need to adapt and be in that situation. You know, it's a challenging situation. Your boss is coming down and saying, "Why are you not there?" Uh, instead of sitting up where we're supposed to sit during the meal. So, in that moment, is it true? You need to adapt.
no, feels like.
So, how do you react in that moment?
Yeah,
Sorry,
it feels
go
like
ahead.
that, but yeah, it's more like question number one is a yes, and then question number two, can I absolutely know it's true? It will be a no. It's more like this. Yeah,
Okay. Okay. So, how do you react when you think you need to adapt? What happens to you in that moment?
I feel forced doing something against my real need for rest. I feel that I need to be like my colleagues who are tending to enjoy being all the time together and talking, and I feel very different. And I judge myself for this. I really would like to be like them, but I am not. So I feel separated from them. I don't want to be different, but I am. So I have difficulties with really setting my boundaries. It was the first time I did it. I have felt it before, but so I see myself in the past adapting to my colleagues and to what I'm supposed to be doing. And this time I really felt like I need my rest now, so I go downstairs and then my boss comes and says, "Why are you sitting here?" And so I feel judged by him. I I treat him like he is my judge. He has the he has yeah the power of forcing me to do something I don't really want, because I begin to doubt myself. Do I really need it? maybe I need to listen to him. Why am I not eating upstairs? Am I too difficult? It's really very busy in my head. My shoulders are very tense. I feel hot. It's like, yeah, I'm desperate that nobody will ever understand that I'm really different, that it's not because I don't want to be with them, but I really need my rest to be present for the next 4 hours who will come after dinner. I see images of the future that I will never succeed of really taking good care of myself, and so much difficulties of explaining that I am different. It's like I I almost feel ashamed for being this different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then how does this idea that you need to adapt affect your ability to set boundaries or to say no, as we were starting in the very beginning of this discussion? How does this thought, I need to adapt, affect that for you?
Yeah, I completely shift to I completely shift from my action of setting my boundaries for the first time, and now I'm sitting downstairs and my boss is coming in and he said, why are you not, and immediately I begin to shift to his side, that I have no I really need to adapt. So it, it I can't stick to this taking care of myself. I immediately go, yeah, kind of. It's so difficult to stay in this need for rest. Um, yeah, it affects it
Mm,
in a negative way. I yeah.
yeah. So this is the power of a thought like this. I need to adapt. As soon as I believe that, then even though I see the need for rest, I know it's important, I literally cannot act on it because I believe this other thought, I need to adapt. And then I put myself in the other person's position. I imagine what they're thinking, and and then yeah, I'm just doing this work with you. And then I adapt. Yeah, yeah. So this is the power of a thought. One thought. And there may be different phrases of this thought, but the feeling is the same. Like this idea, I need to adapt, changes this and makes it impossible to take care of myself. So who would you be if we replay the same situation and you went downstairs to eat alone and your boss comes down and says, why are you not, why are you sitting here? And you didn't have any thought for some reason that you need to adapt. Who would you be, hypothetically, if you were listening to him saying that without the idea that you need to adapt?
Yeah, I feel that I am really grounded in my need for rest. And without the thought, I see myself sitting on the table downstairs and he's coming in, and I see myself very calmly answer his question. It wasn't I see it like it's just a question. I the judgment is I don't hear the judgment anymore because he's just asking me a question and I'm calmly answering this question, and I explain him that I felt very overwhelmed, and for the rest of the evening being as enthusiastic as I am normally, I need really now to eat my dinner here to upload my battery and to take this half an hour of rest, to be present, to to be able to be present afterwards, like I like to do my work very with much energy, and so I'm very calm and very grounded in my need. Yeah, it's completely different. It's interesting.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's yeah. Yeah, and all these thoughts of he will never understand, and they're just they're not there. It's like I need my rest now, and I'm taking care of myself, and whatever person will and whatever they will think of it, it's like I'm just taking care of myself, and I'm kind of proud of myself be doing that. Yeah, yeah,
Mm. Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah. So this is making it even more clear the effect of the thought, I need to adapt. Because the only difference between these two scenarios is that in the first scenario, the thought, I need to adapt, was there. It was lively. It was in your mind. And it made it impossible to take care of yourself, or it just made it impossible. And even caused shame in a way. And without the thought, I need to adapt, it's a completely, there's almost pride. It's like the opposite. Like, and it's easy to take care of yourself. So it's not that you have inability to take care of yourself or to set boundaries. It's that it's very difficult to do that when a thought like this is there. I need to adapt, because that changes everything. So that's what we do in this work of Byron Katie, is see the effect of that thought. Like, oh my gosh, that has a major effect. I like to say one drop of poison, it makes the whole thing poisonous. So one thought like this can make the whole experience stressful. So how could we turn this thought around? I need to adapt. Is there any turnaround that you can find?
Mm, I don't need to adapt.
I don't need to adapt. Okay, so give me some examples to give, maybe strength or evidence to support this idea that you don't need to adapt. How's it possible?
He is not what comes up for me now. He's not saying like you now go upstairs because otherwise you lose your job, or it's like, so I yeah, I I don't need to adapt. I
Like, what is he saying? What are his words?
Why are you here? Why are you eating your plate downstairs?
Okay. So how's that different from you need to adapt? How is it possible that you don't need to adapt even when he says, why are you eating here?
It's like him asking me a question to know why I am downstairs, and he's not asking me to adapt. I hear this in this question, but he's not he's
Right.
not saying it.
He's asking for
Yeah.
information. Yeah. So if I understand, he has a policy that everyone eats together with coworkers, uh, and that's like sort of the rules there. But we're looking at how is it possible that you don't need to adapt, even though there is a kind of policy there. Is there can there be exceptions to policies?
Yes, and he knows that I am an HSP, uh, so I don't really have to explain a lot to him. I just have to mention, this is one of the things an HSP is sometimes feeling overwhelmed, and to really taking care of myself, I've decided to eat this time downstairs. Yeah. Yeah, I think there are
Oh.
exceptions on possible on the policy. It's like me feeling ashamed of being this exception. Yeah.
Yeah. So why do I need to adapt? So that I don't feel ashamed of being the
Yeah, it's
exception.
exactly.
But the reality is you don't have to adapt because probably there is some flexibility in the policy.
Yeah, interesting.
Your boss may even be understanding. Like you said, he already knows your HSP.
Yeah.
He may be looking for information.
Yeah, and he's always the yeah,
So that's
yeah.
interesting. Like it's a self-imposed reason. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and he's always taking care of me because I'm very important for him, like someone who works for him, but also as a friend. We have not really a relationship only at work. It's like he's a good friend, so he's just asking why are you here. It's like, are you okay? Or yeah, so he's taking care of me, but I
Yeah,
I hear it like, oh, I am not allowed to be here, being different, and it's like this
right.
self judgments on my yeah.
And was there anything in his tone that also was challenging for you when he says, "Why are you sitting here?" Did he ask it in any particular way that was also a factor for you?
Yeah, it was more like his appearance of was it was not really very kind and warm. It was like really like, why are you here? Like, I don't understand. Uh, yeah,
Yeah. So even given that kind of appearance, can you find how that you don't need to adapt? Are there any ways that he could be satisfied without you adapting?
Yeah, I think when he would really know why, so the reason why I am there, then it would be okay for him. Yeah.
Yeah. So play for a minute more about like different kinds of exceptions there are. Like if I have a job, I'm expected to show up at work. I'm expected to do what the boss tells me to do. But for in general, like with the general population, what are the kinds of things that bosses make exceptions for or have understanding for, uh, that they have to adapt? They're not expecting you to be there 100% always. Like, what are the exceptions in general?
Ooh, difficult question. I know in my situation, um, for example, normally we are supposed to stay till all the work has been done. Uh, and there can be an exception that someone is leaving earlier because he needs more rest than the other people, or he's starting as the first colleague at 7 o'clock in the morning, so he will not stay till the end of the evening, but he can leave at 10 o'clock to have 8 hours of rest.
Mhm. Yeah, it's an exception. It's what's interesting about that one is it's for the same purpose of rest, right? So there's an exception for people, even if you're not an HSP, that if you have to work at 7 in the morning, then you don't have to close at night until, who knows, 11 or midnight or something. So and the purpose is for the job to be better, for the person to be awake in the morning and have energy and do a good job. So okay, so what other kinds of exceptions are there, to these policies that we think are so rigid?
I can imagine that working at an office, people who need more kind of place, a closed place that they maybe can afford, someone who is very, yeah, like in HSP, everything is coming inside, so we need to just block this kind of space around us to really be productive. I can imagine that there could be exceptions, or yeah,
Yeah,
people who like to work late can work
I know.
late shifts. People who are more morning persons can work morning shifts.
Hmm. Exactly. I know one person that was, even before COVID, requested to work at home because of the, like, couldn't stand strong fragrances, perfumes that people had, and it was like, but she still got an exception for it. So the only purpose in looking at this is just to play with. It's not just a, unique situation, but that all rules have exceptions too, because we're real people in those jobs, and we're not robots. And the funny thing is, we as HSPs tend to be more compliant than anyone else. We try to do the great job, and it may not even be what other people are doing. Let alone how many people take sick time, right? They just call in sick, and there's no warning, and that's that. The boss has to deal with it. So, yeah, all this is playing with the idea I don't need to adapt, right? I don't need to adapt. There could be more examples too. So, is there any other turnaround that you could look at? I need to adapt is the original.
Yeah, if you see this missing thing, maybe if the original statement was I need to adapt to them, maybe a turnaround.
Yep.
I need to adapt to myself. Don't know
Yeah,
if it's
exactly. So, what does that mean?
that I really need to provide my body and my mind what is necessary to feel okay, to not feel overwhelmed, but to feel calm and energetic. And I need to adapt to that. I need to adapt to what my body needs. I need to adapt to what my mind needs. I need to adapt to my own needs for comfort, for happiness.
Did you decide to become overwhelmed? Was that your decision? Was that something you
No.
so I need to adapt to a certain reality that is happening inside of me that I don't even have control over.
So what I hear is I really need to adapt to me being an HSP, kind of. Mm.
Yeah, yeah, and stop pretending to be not HSP, or even in that moment, it's sort of moment to moment. In that moment, I'm overwhelmed, so I need to adapt to being overwhelmed. It's like if you woke up in the morning one day and you were sick, then you have to adapt to I'm sick instead of, oh, I will just go to the office anyway and then everybody else gets sick. So, or I don't do my job. It's like I have to adapt. In other words, I can't control everything. And sometimes overwhelm happens. And and so it leaves you in a more innocent position. You're the caretaker of this part of you that gets overwhelmed. And then you just have to communicate up the chain, like between your boss and the overwhelm. So you have to tell the boss that the overwhelm is happening and I really want to work, do a good job, but I have to stop right now. So it's interesting how it turns around. Like instead you were trying to adapt to everyone else or to your boss, and the turnaround is I need to adapt to me and to my situation, my experience. And then we can find one more turnaround, which is, can you find it? I need to adapt to them, turn it around.
They need to adapt to me. No.
They need to adapt to me. Yeah. So how is that also true?
Yeah, if I really need my rest, then they need to adapt to that need. They can't force me to do something I don't want, or it's like, yeah, they yeah, they should accept, or like, it's so difficult.
It's it's
Yeah, it's
challenging,
very
but
challenging.
look at what's the
Yeah.
reality. The reality is, yeah. But if you if something came up inside of you that you can't control and it affects your work, it affects everything about you and can shut you down, and you have no control over it, you have to adapt to it, and everyone else has to adapt to it because it's more powerful than all of you.
But when I hear
I
this,
can argue against it, I can fight against
yeah.
it. Mhm.
Now,
Go
when
ahead.
I hear this turnaround of they need to adapt to me, it's like, so now all of them, they need to adapt to me. It's like, so now there's this guilt coming in. Like, it's like, oh, Femke is,
Yeah. So remember
yeah. It's like,
remember the purpose of a turnaround. The turnaround is there to give balance. And so far, the balance was too much on the you trying to adapt to
yeah,
them. And that is causing an
yeah,
imbalance. Now, if you go too much in the direction of the turnaround in the other direction, like they need to adapt to me, and now I need to do nothing and just be, they will just completely take care of me with every need. And like that's going too far. Yeah, I will feel guilt about that, although that could be another thought. But the purpose of the turnaround is to balance those two opposites. And that's why we always say, could it be as true or truer that they need to adapt to me as I need to adapt to them? And it might be they're both true, right? They need to adapt to me sometimes, I need to adapt to them sometimes. And there's a communication that happens as we're both adapting to each other. But the beginning, where you started, it was only you. You have to adapt always 100% to them, and there's no room for you. So this is saying bring in some room for you. They will have to adapt to that sometimes. But I will also try to adapt to them. Like it's a give and take, and it doesn't have to be like all or nothing. It doesn't have to be a guilty thing either. Does that make sense how the turnaround works?
yeah, yeah. It immediately gives us kind of calmness. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. So if you ever notice when you're doing a turnaround that it's starting to get stressful again, chances are you're taking the turnaround too far. So just back off it a little bit, find the middle, find the balance, and then you will feel that freedom coming in, which is a place of balance, a place of peace, where like, oh yeah, okay, I was too much adapting. And maybe I wasn't even telling them about what was going on, so they didn't have a chance to adapt.
exactly.
Now I can maybe be adapting a little bit less, telling them a little more. They can adapt a little more, but I'm not going to do it 100%. I'll just find the middle ground. So this work is cool because it opens up the channels of communication. It opens up the possibility of saying what is going on inside of me, but not demanding them to change, but also asking what for some exception. And at the same time, there will be times when you compromise too. Like, okay, yeah, I could take some rest, but I think I will keep going this time. Or, like it's very fluid. But the difference is it's not 100% shutdown of like, I need to adapt and there's something wrong with me. So any more thoughts or questions on this?
No.
Yeah, Sarah.
I just had the thought of just the clarity of boundaries when it's like, okay, they need to adapt to me. Like if you were going to a restaurant and you're a vegetarian, they need to adapt to me. And if they don't, oh, it's okay. I just go to another restaurant. Like it's almost like, it's to me, it's stressful when it's like they need to adapt to me. That's stressful. But when it's like, oh, for my health, they need to adapt to me. And if they don't, it's okay. I'll find another job. Like I'll tell them my needs and they need to adapt to me so I can be a healthy, happy worker. And if they don't adapt to me, I will go somewhere else. But I'm not mad at them. But it's just a need that I have. So it's kind of like making it like if they said no water, no air at this job, you'd be like, oh, okay, I'm human. I won't work here. So it just sort of takes the emotional component of it away, and it's just like it's okay that that's what they need to do for you, and then whenever you're clear, it's so easy to know what it is, and for them to likely do it. But if they don't, it's okay because you just know they need to adapt to you for you to be a good employee and have a good relationship.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I love that, Sarah. Yeah. Yeah, I used to be when I was a vegetarian before vegetarianism was cool. And back in the I guess it was 90s, still it was starting to get cool maybe. But I felt so weird and I felt guilty about being vegetarian. I had to make excuses, I had to hide it, and then little by little I just got more used to it, and it was just that. Okay, well, I'm going to eat vegetarian. Doesn't look like you have anything for me, so I'm not going to eat with you, or I'll sit here and listen and have a conversation, but this isn't my meal, or anything like that. So yeah, it's a really nice way of looking at it. They need to adapt to me can be seen as a stressful thing, like they need to adapt to me and I'm angry about it, or they need to adapt, or I'm guilty about it, or no, I'm the center of my universe, and I'm people kind of have to work around that. I have to, so you have to too.
Yeah,
Yeah, cool. And the difference is, it's where's the control, right? If I give them the power, then I'm the one that's on the outside, and so if something doesn't work, then I'm powerless. I'm a victim of their situation. But if I'm in the center, then people have to adapt to me. Some people don't like it. Some people go away, or I quit certain jobs or whatever. But I'm with me, and the center of power is within me. So anyway, really good topic. I'm so glad you brought it up, and such a great situation. I could be right there as you were doing it, and thank
yeah,
you.
thank you, all of you.